Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you how to make the decorations for a TOTS cake featuring Pip the Penguin. Now, just like always, if you guys see any tools or supplies that I'm using that you could use yourselves, if you check the description below, I have a whole bunch of links that should be able to help you out. Okay, I'm going to break this cake up into 3 sections, and this is going to be the first one, which is the logo. I went online, I found a picture of the logo that I liked, I printed it out, and now as you can see there, I was trimming it. We're going to start with the heart. I cut out the entire heart, and the outside of the heart, the dark gray on my printer there, is going to be pink. The inside is going to be light blue, so I just traced it as you saw in the pink, trimming off that extra bit that I don't really need anymore, but I'm going to keep the outside because I'm going to also hollow out my pink heart here. So line up the dark color, the pink or whatever, if you have a color one, and then trace around. I'm using my X-Acto knife, and then lift it out and toss it aside. You don't need it. You just need that outside ring of pink there like that. And you're probably looking at it being like, dang, that doesn't look very good. And it'll be fine. We'll fix it up, so don't worry. It's okay. I'm using light blue. It's actually sky blue. If you use a certain brand, you'll know what I'm talking about. And rolled it out, same thickness, and using the inside tracer there, the inside piece of paper as in my template. Stick it inside. I used a little bit of water and push it all together. Now I'm taking the rest of my template here. I've got this part, which is the cloud at the bottom. I'm trimming off the black, which looks black. It's actually dark blue. So we'll come back to that. But for now, we're going to do the cloud. Lay it on your gum paste, same thickness as everything else because that makes it nice and neat. And I'm using my X-Acto knife to just carve it on out. Nothing really special here. And I know that I've always used those sticks, my paint stirring sticks. And I also know that some of those little rolling pins come with little rubber bands basically that you put on each end to measure the thickness. I have those. I just never use them. They take too long to swipe on and off, and then I have the chance of losing them. I don't know. I just don't use it. I just use my sticks instead. Okay, as I was talking, I trimmed out the 3 little wings. I think it's a wing, the feathers of the wing there, and I'm just putting them to a side. Here's the dark blue that I mentioned before. I'm just going to outline with this. So I have this rolling tool that rolls nice straight lines. If you don't have it, just use your knife and cut a long thin line. I'm going to outline the heart. I just put some water around the edge. I'm doing all this on a paper towel too, guys, because it makes it easier so when it dries, and when you have to move it around, you're not screwing it up every time you touch it or move it, which is always good to not screw up what you're working on. So wrap it around, using my knife blade, tuck it in at the top there just so it looks a little tidier. Pat it into shape if you need to a little bit. And there you go. Okay, here comes the white cloud from before. So match it up. Look how nicely it just tucks right on in there. It's like I used a template or something, right, to figure that out. And I'm using the same blue, the same dark blue there to outline each of my little feathers. I'm just using some water, wrap it around, tuck it in, trim it off, make it fit. And you might have to use kind of a generous amount of water for this part because these little suckers kept just coming off as you see here. And I just kept having to press them back into place. But don't worry, they will stick. Just give them a chance. And yeah, so when you're attaching your second one, you saw that cut. I did add an angle there so it was nice and pointy. So it kind of just shoves right in between the one below it and the light blue of the feather itself. Wrap it around, stick it into place. There you go. Finish it off. Do that last one. And it's okay if it's a little bit off. It's not going to, like, the dark blue seems a little thick, so kind of put the placement off a little bit of those feathers of the wing. But it still works. Nobody's going to look at it and be like, hey, that's not right. So it looks good, right? Okay, put it aside. Now, this is step number 2. This is Pip our penguin. I have a lot of white gum paste, so I'm just rolling out a big old log of white, making what looks like a big marshmallow. And that's going to be his body, his torso. The black that I'm matching up to it on the left there, and I'm trimming right now, that's going to be his head. His head is going to be, of course, the same thickness and a little bit shorter than the torso, but only a little bit. Like, he's got a pretty good size head, so don't discount his head there, okay? I'm using my lollipop stick. I don't use toothpicks. Shove it on there and put it aside. This is going to be his rump that sticks out beneath his blue jacket. So that white torso in the middle there that you're probably like, what the heck? He's not a panda bear. it's going to be hidden by his coat. So I just happened to have a lot of white and I used it. You could use whatever color you wanted. Pink, purple, yellow, doesn't matter. It's going to be hidden. Okay, I rolled out the white nice and thin. This is going to be for his little belly patch there. And I stretched the circle, as you could see, so it's nice and straight on the sides. And then I'm trimming off the extra where it meets the torso, because otherwise it's going to have a thickness there that'll just not look right. This circle is going to be for his head. I found one that's really good size because the white of his face covers a lot of area. So I flattened the one top piece there on the right, and I used my paintbrush to push it in the center because he's got that little, quintessential divot in his white that penguins have. I'm using my blade just to flatten off the top because it's not really rounded on the top. It's pretty flat. Now I'm flattening off the sides a little bit, and then I'm going to flip it around just like that. And I'm going to kind of dent in about halfway down so it looks like he's got little cheeks that come out at the bottom. And I'm using my lollipop stick, or excuse me, my paintbrush to kind of exaggerate it. So now you see he's got his little eyes, and then below that his cheeks come out to the sides a bit more. And just pull them a little bit if you need to, like I'm giving a little tug there. It should overlap, the white should overlap onto the torso, okay? Because it a little bit shows because his jacket is kind of a V-neck. So you got to bring it down a little bit. I'm using my ball tool there, and I am just kind of blending it in so it doesn't have that big ridge that I was afraid of with the little tummy patch. That's why we cut it off earlier. Okay, I've got the sky blue again, the same color as before. And I'm making his jacket. I kind of jumped ahead, but I'll show you what I did, so don't worry about that. That long strip that I cut out there originally is going to be his collar, so I just cut out a long thin piece, put it aside. This long rectangle is going to be his coat, so you take 2 little nips off of each corner like you see there, and then you're going to wrap the side on the left, looking at it, the side on the left first, and then overlay the right onto it. So that way he's got his double-breasted coat, I think it's called. There's that piece that I cut out before, so wraps around to be his collar. I put 2 little marks where the little V's are cut out at the bottom, you see? And I just trim off the extra, so it's no problem there. And then, of course, once I wrapped it around again, I realized I missed the mark, so you're going to see that in a second. I'm just using some water to paint around. And there it is. There, I had to go back and fix it because I messed up on that one. So if you mess up on it, you're probably going to have to roll out another piece. I was being super lazy and just didn't do it. So yeah, it's in the back of him and you don't see it. So I was taking a shortcut, which hopefully you guys won't do. You'll be better than me. So now he's got his coat and his collar on his coat taken care of. There's my good old piece of paper towel because his leg kept falling off anytime I moved him. And the leg itself, it's kind of like a kidney bean shape, you can see. It's just kind of like a little log that I just curved over and thinned out on one end. And I'm pressing it against his belly right up to the white so that his legs kind of are in the front of him more so than the sides. This long piece is going to be his arm, and the blue I'm rolling out is going to be the sleeve for his jacket. So as you can see, I kind of made a nail shape there. I'm curving it like a letter S to just have his arms kind of bent and resting on his hips. Taking my thin piece of blue, the little long strip I cut out there, trim it off the edge and press it together. I'm using a piece of dried spaghetti in the back of the sleeve and in his arm to press it into his body and hold it into place, because what you didn't see, and I edited out, was it falling off a whole bunch of times because it just wasn't going to stay with water, and I was being silly to just not use a piece of spaghetti to begin with. Alright, so match up the other arm, make sure it's the same size, same as before, wrap it in the blue, pinch it together, cut it off, use that little piece of dried spaghetti, stick it on in there, in the back of the arm where nobody will see it, right inside the sleeve. And there you go, his arms are done. I'm trimming off the edge of his legs because we're going to add his feet. Okay, a little ball of orange, flatten it out, make it into a triangle shape, and then I'm using my back of my paintbrush again, just pressing in twice on either side to make it look like he has 3 little toes, you see? And if you press in the top between the toes, it kind of separates it out at the top too. So now he's got little, I don't know, I want to say duck feet, but penguin feet. He's got little flipper feet. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, this is going to be his beak. I made a triangle. Okay, see how it's kind of triangular? And it's way too long, and it's pointy in the front, and pointy on the top, and flat on the bottom. So not quite a pyramid, kind of a triangle, sort of. Okay, so I trimmed it off because it was too long, and it's hard to see here, but I'm using my blade there to make lines all around the beak to give him his mouth. And it's hard to see, but you just line it up, make it straight around. But when you put it on his face, if you curl up the two sides, see how I'm pinching, kind of lifting on the two ends, it'll make it look like he's happy. So there you go. Now he's a happy little penguin because he can smile. Okay, his eyes are teal. They're a mix of blue and green. They're not just straight up light blue like his coat. I made two little circles as you saw. I cut off the bottom to make it a little flat, just a little flat, using some water to put it into place. And then I'm going to add little black pupils to it. Okay, a little ball of gum paste. And I'm using that ball tool again, and I'm just kind of flattening and pressing and smoothing and circling as carefully as I can to not mess up the actual teal part of his eye. Now, I had a hard time with his eyes. This is just how I did it. If you guys come up with a different way that works better, let me know, because honestly, I struggled with this. All right, I'm rolling out some black really, really thin, and I'm putting it against the entire inside of each eye. You see how I did that? So it goes all the way down to the bottom of each eye, and it should be pretty flat when it comes up because his eyes are very oval. They're not really very round. And the black comes up and curves around and goes back down a little bit. So yeah, his eye should be pretty flat on the sides and bottom and then nice and oval. So like I said, if you guys have a better way to do this, this is just how I did it. And it's not bad, but I feel like there's room for improvement, but I'm not really sure where I'd go with it. Okay, you just saw me add 6 little white buttons to his jacket, and now I'm going to add his hat. I made a square, kind of thick as you see, of gum paste, and I'm going to use my little tool there, my fondant smoother, just flatten it out to make it a little wider, a little flatter, because it was kind of tall. Once you get a good size, you're going to make the brim. I just made a circle, cut it almost in half, as you can see, and when you get it as wide as your square, I use that rolling pin to flatten the one edge. And that's going to tuck underneath the brim of the hat, or the edge of the hat, so that it will sit a little nicer and won't stick up real high in the front or anything. And when you place it on, make sure you get a good curve to the bill, okay? See how it's really curved? For some reason, his hat is designed to be that way. They don't have a flat bill on it. They have it really curved. This little piece I'm cutting out of black is kind of thick, and that's going to be his little hair feathers or whatever. So make it kind of wedge shaped, make one line down the center of it on each side, and then it goes right against his head on the back, right where his hat and his head connect in the back, okay? So a little white highlight on each eye, and there you go. You got Pip. Not too shabby, right? I made him sitting just because it's easier. He has tiny little legs and an enormous body. He would crush anything that he tried to stand on unless you really let him dry first. And sometimes I get impatient, so I cheat. I make them sit. Now these two little white cloud things are going to be the patches that go on his jacket and his hat. I'm using my edible food coloring markers. I'm using the teal to make the heart and the little wing feathers. I'm using the hot pink to outline the heart on each one, as you can see. I'm oh so carefully doing. And then I will use the dark blue in a moment to just kind of outline everything one more time. Now, again, you know, like if you are able to come up with a way that makes him standing, that would be pretty cool to know about too. I feel like if I let him dry, he would have to be really completely dry before you could add legs and have him standing, and you'd probably have to use lollipop sticks coming out of him while he dried, but I guess it could be done. But this, I feel, is a very good substitute if you're not up for it. So those little two pieces that I drew out there, I just stuck them on his coat, and now he's finished. Isn't he cute? Pip is looking good. This is the third step of the cake, okay? This is how I made the clouds. Just a few little clouds for decoration because, as you guys know if you're watching this, it's all about flying around through the sky and delivering those babies. So I made circles. I pulled them with my fingers just to the side to make them into ovals. And now I'm going to use, I don't even know what this tool is called, but it's like a veining tool of some sort. And I'm pressing in 6 times, 2 times around each end, and then 1 time in the middle on the top and the bottom. So right there, 1 on each end, top and bottom, there you go, and another on each end. And it's a nice, cheaty, easy way to make clouds. Okay, this is my new rolling mat. I wanted to share it with you guys. It's from a brand called Atico, and it is insane. It's huge and it's made of silicone and it's like this non-stick. So I don't know what you guys are using. Like sometimes I would just do it right on my countertop and I would use like Crisco or powdered sugar or something. You don't need anything. It just doesn't stick. And it has the circles and everything laid out. So I just got this. I really like it. I was using a different brand that I got tired of, honestly, because it just wasn't cutting it for me. And so I was just using my countertop. But man, this is really cool. And it's because it's silicone, it like sticks to the countertop. It doesn't slide around. It's really neat. You might want to check it out. Seriously, consider it. Okay, back to my cake. I've got the clouds. I stuck 2 on either side. My heart is hardened because I did it the day before. And so I stuck it on the front there. I got my 2 little extra clouds, putting them on the back of the cake. Set my little pip right in the middle like that. Isn't that cute? And there you go. It's not a hard cake, and with just a couple, 3 to be exact, little decorations, you can make a really nice cake. So hopefully you found this video helpful. You'll like and subscribe. Check out my other videos, and as always, guys, thank you very much for watching Caketastic Cakes.